Okay, so this drawing's looking almost complete and really dramatic, but there's a lot that goes into this. So let's just rewind all the way back to taking the reference. Hi, I'm Jono, and if you're new here, I do pencil drawings. There's a lot of control that we have in this process. I think one of the biggest factors in working on a reference or choosing a reference is the lighting in that reference. Because it's so crucial, I've decided to add this to my Anatomy of an Artwork series, where I take you through a number of different aspects of the drawing process to help you improve your craft. I've spoken about the importance of lighting a few times, so in this video I just thought I'd try and package it in a nice, neat way. Also, a huge thank you to Squarespace, but I'll tell you more about them later. My choices about lighting always start when I'm shooting my references. I really enjoy working with dramatic lighting that gives an almost chiaroscuro, or having the figure come out of darkness, which I think lends itself quite well to pencil drawing. But there's so many different ways to light a subject that can be just as effective. I'll often find that a pose that looks really good under normal lighting circumstances can often just get lost in the darkness when I'm using a single light source, and often the look that I'm trying to go for is a single light source type look. So in a way, the lighting and the way that the shadows fall can actually determine quite a lot of the pose that I end up using. I'm going to start having already set up my model and pose. In this case, it's me. Starting with the light in a neutral or flat position, I'm going to move the light to see what kind of detail I can draw out using light. So you can see here that as the light is lifted, more detail and shadows are revealed on the back. Pushing the light further past the subject will stretch those shadows even more, and you can start losing that detail. So you want to find a point where you're still capturing as much detail as possible, while still having dramatic shadows that are enhancing your pose. Now that I'm happy, I want to talk about the strength of light. I'm using very soft light here to allow for the softer shadows and a lot of detail in the midtones. But if we add a stronger light, like here, you can see those shadows become sharper and have more contrast. This could either be an effect that you're looking for to have sharp contrast in the shadows, maybe your theme is quite dramatic, sharp and rigid, or you might be looking for a softer shadow, a more delicate and nuanced tone, in which case a softer light would suit you better. So now that I'm in my home studio and I'm busy with my drawing here, there's a couple things that I'm going to be keeping in mind. I'm always going to focus on the angle of my light source. In this case, it's coming from the top and slightly on the left. I'm keeping this in mind with every detail. When rendering detail, the highlight will always sit closer to the light source, with the shadow cast out further away from the source. Nailing this will help a lot with the consistency of the lighting across the work. I enjoy working with soft graphite. It gives me the flexibility to come back in at a later stage and kind of sculpt the light again. If I want to move over an area and try and pull some light out, because I used soft graphite, it isn't really embedded into the paper and I can pull it out quite easily. I can't stress enough the warning about detail. Getting lost in the details is always the fun part. You get into a state of flow so easily when you're adding these details that are so fun and rewarding. But it's a sure-state way to get your drawing looking flat very quickly. Make sure that you're honoring the larger masses and shapes before you start going into the details. Or if you have done the details first, make sure you don't just get lost and blur the lines between planes of light and shadow, because adding detail will draw focus to those areas. And if you're adding focus to an area that should be less sharp, it'll affect the overall cohesion of your piece. The way that I usually like to think about it is that there are three tones to consider: the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. Over the years, I found it more and more useful to establish a midtone as early on as possible, and from there try and pull out some highlights very quickly, and using the shadows as a bit of a guide with mark making for proportion. But I think the underdog in this whole story are the midtones. This is where a lot of detail and a lot of nuance happens, and it's still a challenge for me today. I'm still trying to master my midtones and get the subtlety right. I'm so tempted always to have these rich contrasty effects with shadows and highlights, and I'm often disappointed when my drawing's looking flat when I look at it when it's finished. And I know that if I just spent more time on the midtones, it probably would have looked a lot more sophisticated and well refined. I want to bring this back to the overall message here, which is the lighting that you started off with is obviously what's going to define what you draw. The struggle that I have with midtones or with shadows, all of that is influenced by that original idea of the lighting. So the concept that you're sculpting your drawing with light is quite an important one to keep in mind. I always find that when there's an excuse to have a highlight and to have a shadow being cast, it always makes my drawing look a whole lot more realistic. And so that's what I'm looking out for when I'm taking my reference photos or when I'm choosing reference photos. Before in this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they've played a huge role in my career, not only in sponsoring these videos and helping me maintain this channel, but crucially, early on in my career, I was looking for a way to design a website which didn't need me to code in HTML and devote a ton of time into making that website look beautiful. And I found that Squarespace had really well gallery designed templates for me to choose from, which displayed my work in a very clean, efficient way and made it easy for clients to see my work and get in touch with me. I never had to patch anything or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them or set up an online store, and most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use the offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. So there we go. I hope this video was helpful. Lighting is such a hard thing to pin down, but it's so crucial and it affects everything. I'm still learning so much about it, and every breakthrough I've had with lighting has helped my work in a huge way. So hopefully this maybe helps you out in a little way. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please leave a like. It helps the channel out in a huge way. As always, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.